The 5 biggest changes to PvE in Cataclysm. Okay. This is an interesting video because the Cataclysm beta has literally just been released. And we got access to the Cataclysm beta, so we're gonna try, obviously, some Cataclysm content. But let's check it out, guys.
Lich King to Cataclysm, a ton changes within all aspects of the game.
Oh my god, Barons looks like this.
Our classes, raiding, and more. As we currently are at the moment, time is pressing on for Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah.
The 30% ICC buff was finally pushed out the other week, meaning we're very much on the home stretch to Classic's next destination. A return to a revamped Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, with so much to look forwards to.
Yeah.
As for me, I know I'm going to be playing Cata, for the most part for the raiding though, as I pretty much always have done with Classic so far, and it is about time I got started with more videos on the topic, because, well, I don't know if you saw the Classic roadmap they put out a bit ago. They did move the Cata beta date on it from late winter to early spring, but all indications show that it's going to be pretty soon.
It is already out. There's currently a closed beta out, but we don't know when it's going to be open beta. Probably like in a few weeks or so, I would assume. But yeah, we're looking at Cataclysm soon, man. Pre-patch event probably in a month or two, and then the campaign and everything gets released.
Of course, I'll still be covering Season of Discovery as the
early April, most
progresses
likely, maybe.
too. This channel has always been about Classic as a whole, and that's evolved over time to mean several different things. After all, players literally have so much choice from the game now.
It's
between
insane.
Wrath, which will soon be Cata, the seasonal servers, Hardcore, and Era. Surely I will not read comments about how Cata is the worst thing ever from people who have no intention of playing it, whilst also having 3 different versions of vanilla to choose from. 4 if you want to count the self-found hardcore mode. This will definitely not happen. Anyways, today is about changes specific to PvE content from Wrath to Cata. For me,
I feel like for me though, I mean, maybe is this because I'm getting older? I kind of like, I'm a lot more hyped about PvE stuff, like dungeons and raids and heroics and stuff, than I am for PvP in many ways. Maybe it's because I don't really have, I don't think arena is the most fun for me personally, but I don't know, I like raids and dungeons. I think it's really cool. And I heard that the PvE stuff in Cataclysm actually is quite good, you know? Guzu plays so much variety, 16 versions of WoW counts as variety? Yeah.
this is an area of the game which I'm looking forwards to the most from the upcoming expansion. I played it a lot back in the day and really felt as though it delivered a challenging experience, which we've only got to see now and again from the odd fighting classic thus far. But with all that said, let's make a start. These for me are 5 of the biggest changes to come with the PvE scene moving into Cata. One of the most defining features in Cataclysm is that it's one of the very few expansions in WoW's history where 10-man raiding is a real possibility for a guild that has a smaller group but still wants to see some challenging content.
Wait, so in Cataclysm, it's still 10-man or 25-man? There's not that, like, flex rating whatever yet, right? So it's still, like, those two. Both? Okay, so it's 10 and 25 still. Okay, makes sense. I literally never raided in Cata, so I have no idea. Mob was
During
flex,
Wrath of the Lich King, Blizzard changed something about how raiding worked in every single tier. From 10 and 25 mans in Tier 7, hard modes in Ulduar, heroics and attempts in TOGC, and finally shared lockouts with heroics and staggered content releases in ICC. It was a roller coaster of changes. So for Cataclysm, Blizzard settled on a different format. Now you'll be able to run 10 or 25 heroic once per week, and after a boss is defeated, you will now be locked to that ID for the week. It would still be...
So... But is the loot the same then? Like, if I do a 10-man raid, do I get the same loot as I would do in a 25-man raid? Or is the loot, like, worse? Yeah? Okay. That's actually interesting, because that for me with Wrath was, like, a big reason why I didn't want to do, like, 10-man, because it's kind of like... You just got worse loot. Like, it's just not as good. Yeah, obviously you get way less loot, but you also, like, you know, you're only 10 people as well. Okay.
It's possible to join multiple different normal runs, however, but you could only kill each boss once per week. Alongside this, Blizzard also took the ambitious step to make each different size of the raid very similar to one another in difficulty.
Interesting.
And since heroic mode would now share lockouts between the two raid sizes, you had to make a choice here. Now this balancing act between 10 and 25 was tough. There were without a doubt some fights which were far more difficult on 10 player, whilst being easier on 25. Halfus Wormbreaker, the first boss of Bastion of Twilight, comes to mind.
Is that the first
but
raid?
it was always going to be a challenge to go down this path of trying to fix both raid sizes. In 10 player raids you have less people, so less worrying about that room space as often, and sometimes things were tuned more favorably, whereas in
I do feel like 10-man maybe is more harder overall, because there's more responsibility in each person, but
25 you had straight up more defensive cooldowns to deal with high damage phases, more interrupts, a much easier time putting together a raid comp which covered all debuffs and buffs, 3 combat reses instead of the one you got in 10-man, and a bunch more. And 10-player heroic raiding really could not afford any weak links. That one guy that messes up often might just get by in 25, as perhaps they don't receive mechanics as often, but there's no crowd to hide it in 10-man. If you mess up early, it can just straight up be a wipe. Another big change here is that raid sizes would now drop the same loot. They were also at the same level between each different size and difficulty. As we have it at the moment in Wrath, loot tables for 10-man have always been different, and sometimes that means your BIS is technically a lower item level piece, but it just has some kind of effect which makes it especially good for your class. And you can
I think it's the stats, right? Some of the stats were better on the 10-man raids thing. I don't know. I kind of like that it's the same gear in a way, but I guess there's like less options for the gear pieces. But let's be honest, people will always go for the best piece anyway, right? Honestly, 10 and 25 is pretty flexible. Both are viable from almost everything. That's fair enough. I still think 25-man feels more like a raid, but I guess if you have like a little group you want to play with, 10-man is pretty nice too.
Tell how popular 10-mans for BIS was by the fact that eventually Blizzard put all the Ulduar 10-man hard mode stuff on a vendor so people could finally get them. But this won't be the case anymore in Cata, and I have a feeling that Blizzard are going to keep 10 and 25 separated for lockouts because, well, otherwise your guild is going to have a very strong incentive to run both versions of the raid because they'll drop items as good as one another. You remember having to do 2 Ulduars because that one guy didn't get his runestone yet? As much as I enjoy raiding, I don't know if I want to go back to doing that again. But Cata will once again offer that 10-man raiding experience.
That's misery,
so if you have a smaller group and you still want a challenge, Cata will be a good time for you. Cata also did a ton to revamp dungeons too.
This isn't Cata?
You know that thing when you port into a dungeon through the LFD and it just gives you quests at the start? That's from Cata. Some older dungeons also got big revamps too to be more...
I actually heard that like Dead Mines is super fun. Like it's actually like really, really cool.
In theme with the post-shattering world. Notably, the iconic Dead Mines was given a huge revamp, as well as the elusive Shadowfang key.
They changed this too,
and also,
I forgot.
Kind of a side note, but the adventure guide was also added during Cata, so you could see what items drop where, well in advance, as well as check out the boss.
Honestly, this is kind of nice, man. Like, sometimes I hate looking at Atlas loot. Looking through loot like this is actually a lot more nice. I won't lie. Like Atlas is just you use it because you have to use it, right? I really like this format for like loot.
Mechanics.
Like
I always enjoyed reading the differences between normal and heroic raid boss mechanics and trying to imagine how they would actually play in practice. But Blizzard giving us the mechanics did not make things easy. In fact, it was the total opposite. The dungeon content in Cata was designed, at least on heroic mode, to be worthy of the word heroic. Players had come from Wrath of the Lich King, where dungeon content consisted of gathering stuff up in a big ball and then pressing AoE abilities and running straight through everything, which was fun enough for a bit, but it was otherwise very lacking.
It's actually that hard. That's what you guys are saying. On release, Wrath gamers are in for a shock. Really? I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing is difficult for the Guzu Puck community, boys. Alright, this community here has the best players in the world. Nothing will be a challenge.
The heroics on launch were brutal. There were super dangerous trash packs, abilities that needed to be...
Oh, is this the Stone Core? Where the guy's like... Sorry, I just had like a nostalgic moment with like, feel the strength of my body. Like that guy, right? He's in here, I think. Because I remember there was like some sort of like a techno remix of it. It was pretty cool. Break yourself on my body. That thing.
interrupted, and plenty of ways to basically get one shot if you weren't paying attention. These days I don't think they're going to be as difficult as people remembered because we've just improved as a whole as a player base. In fact, with good CC, rolling cooldowns and understanding what's dangerous, I think you'll be surprised how many trash packs, even early in the expansion, you can just ball up an AoE down. Though it's going to need a lot more finesse to pull off successfully than what you need to do in Wrath, because for real, some of the damage output of mobs in Cata is no joke. But back in the day, these dungeons were swiftly given the nerf hammer for the main reason that, well, you could queue as a random group into these heroics with suboptimal gear, and more often than not, it was a complete disaster. I have to say though, with a proper group, the Cata dungeons will be some of the most fun you'll have had in 5-man content in Classic so far. And
wait, he's kind of hyping me up for this, man, I won't lie. I remember back in the day when like they released that trailer with Deathwing destroying the world. I got really fucking hyped. I'm not gonna lie. That shit was hype as hell. And it was a big, what is it called? Like risk to do it, for sure. I do really like love the old world a lot more, obviously, but it was like pretty goddamn hype back in the day.
Well worth trying out. Also, Blizzard basically confirmed the Titan Rune dungeon system will be ported forwards to Cata too, so these dungeons are going to be kept relevant as we progress through the expansion. In Cataclysm as well, there are also the reworked Zulaman and Zul'Gurub raids made into dungeons, as well as the 3 Hour of Twilight dungeons right at the end of the expansion.
I love this. I did this one, I remember. It's very few of the dungeons I actually did because I quit so early on, but I did. Yeah, they did revamp it. You're right.
There should be a good amount of 5-man content to do, and it's not just the dungeons which have a jump up in difficulty either. I'd say I've enjoyed Wrath of the Lich King raids as a whole, but the difficulty of them is just absolutely all over the place.
This was last patch though? I just remember it. Maybe I didn't play it. I remember seeing some of it. I think you have to escort Illidan over to the well or something, and then there's some demons that walks back and forth. I just remember it. I don't know if I played it or not. Maybe I did play it, maybe I didn't. I don't recall. Yep. It's very vague, I remember. Private server? I have no idea. Maybe, dude, honestly. I just remember it.
Remember that they buffed tier 7.
Or maybe I did it in a later expansion. He's disassociating? No, I did quit. Dude, I quit a month into Cataclysm, but I remember that dungeon. Bro, you realize this is like literally like 15 years ago, right? My memory is a little bit messed up.
Raids by 20%, and you could still just walk in them as soon as they were open in a straight line, one-shotting everything, no problem. Or what about Trial of the Grand Crusader? Then on the other hand, we had fights like Pre-Nerf Yogg Zero, Algalon the Observer, and above all, Lich King 25 Heroic. If you're a progression raiding enjoyer where gear and upgrades mean more than just a bit of a faster boss kill, then Cata may be the experience you're after. In fact, if you cleared ICC 25 Heroic pretty early on and want to see more of that, I think you're gonna like Cata raiding a lot. And if you don't believe me on it being harder, well, here's a few words from a member of Paragon after claiming world first tier 11 back in 2010. He says, all in all, this tier of raiding, in my opinion, has been the hardest tier of raiding overall. There haven't been many pushover bosses on heroic difficulty, there hasn't been any gating, there haven't been any attunements and such. It's just been one big, absolutely brutal grind. And this should remain true today. I do wonder whether Blizz will delay the opening of the raid by 1 week, similar to what they did with Wrath of the Lich King though. The idea here is to allow players time to enjoy their leveling journey and not feel pressed to level as soon as possible, so not to miss the first lockout. Then
I mean, dude, people are they're gonna get the FOMO regardless, but I think that's a good thing.
Again, I think tons of guilds would have been capable of clearing next 25, no problem in mostly just their Sunwell gear, whereas doing Cata heroic raids a few days in would prove a significant challenge. Back then, it took 42 days from expansion launch to tier 11 being clear. These days, would it be possible in under 7? I want to say yes, because top-end guilds will be able to class stack super hard, and there wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, they already like, they know all the strats already, right? Like, everything is already known, so it probably would be possible. But yeah, yo, thanks, Brands. I appreciate it, dude. What's up, man? Thank you. Top-end guilds will for sure, and they have the PTR. I mean, there's private servers that's been up for years. There's PTR. There's like, you know, they could literally be practicing right now if they want to go for like world first, whatever the heck, right?
any bugged encounters, and it could also make for the first race to world first in Classic, which is actually kind of interesting and lasts a few days. I guess we'll see what Blizzard decides to do here in terms of locking the raid or not, but either way.
Cata is top tier PvP content, not PvE? Well, from what I've understood, a lot of people always tell me Cataclysm is fantastic raid PvE content, but I've never really heard many people talk about the PvP stuff. But maybe you're right. Maybe you are right for sure. Whenever people talk about PvP, they always say Mob. Like Mob was the big PvP stuff, right? I didn't play Cataclysm really. I mean, I did for a month or two, and I did not play Mob at all. So I never touched Mob ever. So I don't know anything about that really. Cata has the best PvP season in WoW history. Okay, I mean that's a big statement there. If people enjoy Cata, they will enjoy Mob for sure. I mean, probably, yeah.
It'll be one to look
forward
to.
Rated BGs.
Next thing to bring up is the currency rework from Wrath to Cata. So in Wrath, there are a lot of currencies. There are emblems of heroism, valor, conquest, triumph, frost, stonekeeper shards, honor, arena points, and so on. There's even a bunch more than that. It all started to get a bit much, so in Cata, Blizzard went to simplify this system down. Now in PvE, there's two currencies, Justice Points and Valor Points. Justice Points are from repeatable or daily activities, and are used to either buy heroic dungeon level gear at the start of the expansion, or old raid gear as new tiers are released, whereas Valor Points will be used to buy raid equivalent gear for the current tier. And in PvP, there is honor and conquest points, and they're kind of similar to how the PvE currencies work.
Oh yeah, conquest is like raided stuff, right?
Honor is for your starter gear or old arena sets as seasons progress, and conquest points are for the current arena season gear.
Yeah, okay.
So the very simple version is conquest and valor is for the new stuff, and you can earn up to a certain cap each week, and justice and honor points are for the old stuff. You can earn these from repeatable activities and grind as much as you want. Both the justice points and honor points had a cap of 4,000, and each patch your remaining valor points and conquest points would be converted into their respective lower end currencies. However, points exceeding the cap would be converted into gold. Now, when we went from Wrath to Cata originally, there were some conversions done with Wrath currencies, which might be of interest to you these days. First up is the emblems of heroism, valor, conquest, and badges of justice from TBC were all just converted into gold at the rate shown here. Probably.
I mean, that's really not a lot of gold nowadays in Wrath, is it? Get like 500 gold? Let's go, man. I can buy one consumable.
Worth investing these into either gems,
really
heirlooms, rings of the woolly mammoth, something of the like. Personally, I go for the looms, as the cost in emblems now is way better than it would be post-conversion. For example, a bloodied Arcanite Reaper in Cata is 3,500 justice points. That's equivalent to trading down just over 300 badges of Triumph or Frost, whereas now you can get it for 65 badges. However...
Okay, so I guess if people are want to level characters, it's better to buy that stuff now, I
wouldn't go trading away all your emblems if you do want to get a head start when Cata drops. So if Triumph and Frost emblems are still converted to Justice points at a rate of 1 to 11.58, that means if you have a total of 346 badges of Frost or Triumph combined, that when the conversion happens, you'll hit the Justice point cap of 4,000, meaning you can go and get 2 pieces of heroic item level 346 gear instantly from a vendor. There shouldn't be any point having more badges than that though, as they'll be converted to gold. As for your current PvP currencies, they will also be converted into just honor at the rate shown here. The new honor points will also have a cap of 4,000 as well, so similar to PvE, it may be possible to prepare for this now as well. Word of War.
This is a lot of preparation, man. You know what? I think I'm just gonna, whatever happens to my things, I'll just let it happen, man, okay? And I'll just see what I get, okay? It is what it is. Whatever we get, we get. What's up, the loser?
On here, of course, we don't know what Blizzard are going to be doing here yet.
It might be something completely different as well.
I just wanted to show you what you can do with excess emblems at the moment to get the most out of them. But at the same time, I don't want you feeling as though you've wasted them either. For me, on my main, I'm going to have about 350 Frost and Triumph emblems for the Justice point cap, and I'm going to trade down the rest to emblems of Heroism, and pretty much just buy out every heirloom. And the final big point I want to bring up here is how Blizzard really committed to creating a bit more of a divide between casual and hardcore content.
Yeah, it does seem like Cataclysm is really where they stepped up the difficulty a lot. like from Wrath, because even Wrath dungeons, like Wrath heroics, aren't really hard. I mean, maybe if you're completely fresh 80, they can be a little bit difficult, like green gear, but from what, yeah, it was really noticeable. Everybody's saying like it's actually very difficult, you know?
Something that they've been experimenting with.
Yeah, that's probably when competitive raiding got really popular too.
Out the duration of Wrath of the Lich King to see what worked best. Iterating through hard modes, heroics, attempts, staggered releases, and more. Back in the day when the harder content hit, it was a surprise and a change of pace for the game for many. Yet difficult heroic and later mythic raids have become an absolute cornerstone of World of Warcraft over.
Yeah, this is really when it started, I guess. Is it like TBC where mobs hit harder than the bosses? Honestly, Nixon, I have no idea. I think the bosses have actual mechanics that you have to do and stuff like that. That's what I would assume. Like the mechanics are very, very important. I don't think it's just the scaling of the mobs. I think it's like mechanics. Like you have to like do mechanics, right? And if not, then you die. What's up, Kicks?
The years. They may appeal to a
small... what? You know, like threat? Like threat. That's a mechanic. Yeah, stuff like that.
A crowd, then easier and more accessible content, but the people who like them tend to really like them. And by today's standards, the average player is taking on way harder content than they would have back in the day. Check this out, for example. While progress shows between the first clear of ICC 25 Heroic by Paragon on March 26, 2010, and the day before Kata's release on December 6, 2010, that there were 1001 guilds that had cleared the raid fully on Heroic, whereas Warcraft Log shows just under 3,800 full clears of ICC 25 Heroic that have been completed as of doing this video. This number is going to be above 4,000 easily before Kata drops.
And there's, I mean, let's be honest, he's gonna say that there's probably a lot less people that even play like Wrath Classic now as well, right?
Reminder that back in the day, during this patch we're on now in Wrath of the Lich King, that World of Warcraft was around 12 million subs. So yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying a lot more people actually do enjoy the challenging content and are playing the game for that. I reckon you'll start to see more of a crossover from high-end retail raiders coming to Classic as well, as kind of a middle ground between vanilla content, which is kind of just chill, and Mythic, which is extremely difficult.
I definitely think it's attracting a different player base than what originally Classic did now, right? Because there's a lot of Classic players who probably will not enjoy Cataclysm at all for what it is, but there's a lot of people that really enjoy that more difficult content who's gonna get enticed to play it now. So that there will be a big divide in the player base now. What will for Cataclysm, right? Are you gonna make a goblin to finally fulfill the fantasy of being a loot enjoyer? Oh, I kind of want to do the goblin starting zone, dude. Damn, I want to try that as well, actually.
King Kata is somewhere in the middle of those 2 points, I'd say. Also,
yeah, maybe we should try the goblin starting zone.
Similar to Wrath of the Lich King, Kata raiding is pretty low maintenance once you have everything set up on your main. So if raiding is the thing you want to be doing a lot of, Kata should be a great experience for that too. And given the more experienced nature of the average player, I think that Kata's PvE content will stand the test of time when we finally get stuck into it once again. But that
it's not up on the beta yet? Oh, you just ruined my day now, Nixon.
Is all for today. Let me know your thoughts on Kata's PvE, whether you did it back in the day or whether it's going to be your first time giving it a go as a new player to Classic in the comments down below. And thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.
I definitely do agree though, like it's gonna be a big divide in like the player base for sure, but I'm here for it. I'll try it out. I'll see if I enjoy it. I'll see what it turns out to be. You know, it'll be fun to see how the all the dungeons and the heroics and the raid content will be, and even RPGs and stuff. We'll see. I don't know if I'll end up enjoying it, but I'll definitely try it out.